Greetings, infinite blessings, and welcome to another moment of now and another episode of Midday Mindfulness, keeping you up to date with everything going on in the spiritual realm and beyond, allowing for a deeper and more heartfelt expression of self and connection to everything else. My name is Kaine Stromberg. And as always, it is my absolute honor and privilege to invite you to join me as we delve into the depths of reality to discover how deep the rabbit hole really goes. I've had a bit of time away from recording the show. Season 1 and 2 went phenomenally, and I took a bit of time to focus upon me. This is being recorded and released as a New Year's special. And it is my absolute honor and privilege to have Natalie on the show. She has several titles, the same as myself. The singing siren is the connection that I have had with her. We've had some sessions together where she helped me to release some very, very heavy trauma that I had stored all the way in the bottom of my toe, interestingly enough. She is very, very beautiful in her frequency and her ability to create transformation, knowing that the change of the world outside all starts from within. As well as this, she is very well known as the blowjob queen, teaching women's empowerment and sensuality, freedom and liberation. So, men and ladies, hold on tight because today's episode is going to be something else. Natalie, I love you, dear soul. Thank you for everything you have assisted me with so far upon our journey together. And it has been my honor and privilege to have guided you back home to yourself as well. So allow me a moment to introduce Natalie and to get her on this phenomenal episode of the Red Pill podcast. Hello, one and all. Greetings and welcome to another amazing episode of the Red Pill podcast. And welcome to Natalie. The most beautiful conversation that we've just had, hopefully we'll be able to reflect and to continue to share with everybody that will be tuning in, as well as listening back to the podcast at a later date. So take a moment, please, if you will, to introduce yourself. I know all about the beautiful energy that you house within you. You've helped me more than I can express to reconnect to my truth. And I'd love for you to share this with the world. So please introduce yourself and all of the multicolored facets of your being.
This is always the hardest part for me. Introduce yourself. How am I going to do this today? It's different every time. I am on my own journey of reconnecting to my own spirit, my body, my authentic voice, and the fullness of my expression and the fullest expansion of me. There, piece that together. What I do, I do, I help others with that same thing in a multitude of ways. I help people working with the voice.
And that's how we've worked together. As we were saying before we jumped on, you've had a multitude of labels or titles given to you over the years. And knowing a title allows for a deeper understanding, or for the mind to understand and comprehend something. It also maybe limits it to that label. So the singing siren is the coaching face, or
soul siren. Yes,
the soul siren, singing people into a place of inner connection and reconnection, if you like, to the love that they are themselves, and it's always found within.
Yeah, I guess what I do is I use my voice initially to create a really energetically like nurturing space and inviting and opening space, very calming and peaceful, and yeah, and then I walk through little journeys with people depending upon what comes up from their end.
And I can I know I've experienced it firsthand, so I know how deeply transformative it is to be able to be held in that loving embrace, and then to be or to feel. And it's not just feeling, it's deeper than that. That feeling of safety, which allows for every expression that wants to be heard, to be released, to be seen, to be felt, to be heard. It is truly phenomenal. So again, thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing, and simply for being you.
Yeah, I think those sessions are probably the most potent transmission of my love that I can give. And that is what is so powerful about it, is that when you really hold a space with love that undeniably potent, anything can come through and be held and be loved and be released. And
why do you feel that is? Why do you feel that when we feel unconditionally loved and accepted as we are, it allows us to release all of those things that we've held within us for so long?
Someone said to me once that what I do sounds very motherly, with the singing and the kind of lulling into a peaceful state. So I kind of suspect that maybe there's a bit of that it naturally is inner child work, where taking people back to a state where they feel mothered as a child. Kids naturally process their emotions, and it's only when they don't feel invited to do so that they start bottling it up and holding it. And so I think there's something about the mother energy in me and the connection that I create that allows people to tap back into that child at whatever age that they couldn't express those things. And then they no longer have to keep holding it.
Beautiful. Being able to be authentically yourself in the eyes of another person allows you to feel fully seen and accepted as that authentic self. You can take off all the layers of illusion and separation, all the masks that we've put on throughout the years, knowing that every time we interact with the person, we almost chameleon ourselves and try to fit in or to please them in some way, shape, or form, to be accepted by them. This is most often it's to prevent trauma being experienced. So, as you've said before, when you were very expressive and loud, when you expressed your full self, you were punished for it. So you learned, just as I did it came up through the work we were doing, that you kept yourself small and quiet so as not to upset, so as not to be traumatized yourself. It's a self-preservation technique that we do. And then allowing for all of those layers of protection to be chipped away in an instant through that loving embrace and that unconditional safety means that we can return to that childlike truth of who we are and then bring that frequency all the way back to now. It's inner child healing is the most powerful technique that any of us can utilize and adopt, and it's something that we both specialize in our own ways. So anybody looking to have any form of healing or guidance or any information or sharing of techniques that you would like, just reach out to either one of us and we would be more than happy to provide from our heart to yours. So as you were saying before we started, you started actually walking by the lake and connecting to nature on a daily basis, and then allowing for a freedom of expression, a freedom of movement. And you were saying, and it brought up, so this is why I'm bringing this back up, it brought up a question. You were saying about how it took you a period of time to stop having to be mindful of other people's interpretation of you, feeling as though they were accepting you. And now it's something that almost happens naturally. There is no longer a mindful process in being able to dance and worrying or thinking about what they're
I think that's a clarification needed, is that I've been going to the lake and I've been dancing like nobody's watching, and I've been doing that for about a year. And initially I chose to do this because I was working through a lot of issues. Basically, my nervous system had a response to other people's reactions to me. And so I had a lot of fear around being visible, just being in my full expression. That relates to how I move, and it relates to how I vocalize, how I sing. And initially, I'm a super empath. I can kind of feel the nature of everyone's energy that they were sending me. Initially, I really struggled with feelings of anger or jealousy or trigger, or there were all kinds of things that would kind of come mess with my vibe. And I'm at a point now, I realized about a month or two ago, that I no longer experience having to manage other people's responses to me. That's not something that I'm consciously aware of or doing anymore. I'm able to just very much stay in my own body and in my experience. And I'm going to the lake and I'm moving how I want to move, and I'm soaking up the sun while I'm doing it, and also getting the water vibes from the lake. And I've found that, like, I have some fans at the lake now that we all frequent there. There's some women who like high five me each time they walk by, or they or they say, "I love your energy."
Yes.
And so the other thing that I shared earlier was that since I'm no longer managing other people's reactions to me, I've started just more intentionally choosing what I do while I'm there. And one of the things has been that I smile at each person that I walk by on this loop as I'm going around. And I'm you called me a selfish bitch.
I did.
Giving myself serotonin every time I smile at someone, because your brain produces it whether it's a real smile or not, although it's usually real because it's fun to smile at people. And I'm like clearly having an impact on the people that walk by with my energy. And I have music in my ears, so I don't have to talk to them.
So you're enriching the lives of other people, and in doing so, enriching the life of yourself. So I was comically saying, "You selfish bitch, only doing it for yourself." And in truth, in some ways, there's a lot of, especially in Buddhism, the route to enlightenment is the compassion for other beings. So the only reason that you're compassionate for somebody else is to bring about your own enlightenment. But then that gets all intertwined and tangled up into a never-ending loop of self-justification and gratification through the expression of self and reflection upon another. And that's maybe something a bit deep to integrate into this conversation. But what it brought up in myself was, I noticed about a week ago, I got my nipple pierced a little while ago, and that was part of the healing process that we brought about together. The reason I did it was and the reason I wore that princess dress was in honor of my inner child, my inner feminine aspect of self and the expression of her. Hello, Layla. How are you? Thank you for all the love. And I then got my nipple pierced. I woke up one day and I wanted to do it, and I went and done it. Very, very beautiful and liberating experience. It's something I'd kind of always wanted to do, but felt it was a bit feminine again. My body has now accepted the piercing. It took a while. Every time I would knock it, I would be very, very in a lot of pain, and it was very obvious that there was a foreign object in my body. My body has now accepted it. So it takes a period of time to accept a new foreign object, a new piece of information, which is all that really is. And it's the same when we bring about learnings and new discoveries. Some things take a period of time. The first time we learned to write our name, we didn't get it right the first time. It took a number of attempts before we were able to write our name. And the same with everything we do, the same with the journey that we're on. So just a beautiful reflection and reminder that wherever you are on your journey is perfect. There isn't a time frame that you need to be enlightened or complete in yourself by. It's just the enjoyment of the journey. So how is it that you could help somebody that may feel they're a little stuck or a little, as you use the expression yourself, going into hermit mode, where you want to close down from the world and just come into yourself and almost protect where you are and what you have? And knowing that that is all part of the beautiful journey, that sometimes we need to go into those states of deep rest to gain the energy required to then push through the next barrier or layer of limitation.
Good question. I think what we were saying earlier is relevant. A lot of times when I'm someone who does naturally go into periods of introspection and disconnection where I just need to be in my own energy for a little bit. And that has been like a major de-stressor for me, is that when it comes to how I show up online, I don't have any expectations in terms of the time and schedule and the consistency. It's when my energy is available for it. And so when I have something like this, where I knew that I was coming on and being visible, I need to plan those things ahead, because then there's stuff I can do to get my energy in the right place. But there's also times when I just need to honor that that I'm in need of hermit mode for a little bit. One of the things we were saying, though, is that when I'm feeling some anticipatory anxiety about coming out of hermit mode, one of the things that I worry about or get anxiety about is like my little quirks and foibles and like weirdnesses and
your beautiful, unique aspect of self. Thank you very much.
Some of the
language we use is the most important thing we have. Frequency. You know this. Come on.
Yes. Well, so I don't think there's anything wrong with the language that I was using, because I don't think that it's necessarily negative. And that's the point that I was making, is that we were both talking about how sometimes we, record something on video and we did crap, and then we watch it and we're like, oh, actually pretty good. Yeah. And one of the things that strikes me when I go back and watch myself is that the weird way that I say things and the silly voices that I do and the expressions that I make and the times when I'm silly, like that's what makes me watchable and entertaining and fun. And it's part of my magnetism. And it's funny how the things that we fear being seen are most often the things that actually make us most engaging.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful truth. And expand upon it. Why? Why would that be?
Well, because it's permission giving. Because when you show your quirks and are willing to be silly and not so serious, then it gives other people permission to be weird, and everybody's weird. It's just that like we're all caught up in this idea of like, this is what professionalism looks like, and this is what an adult is. Like nobody fucking knows.
It would be so beautiful image that comes to mind, and an old teaching that my Ajahn gave me years ago because I started my journey in Buddhism, and it was to do with trees in a forest. And there's row upon row of all these trees, all these people walking in their suits and wearing their attire that they've been told or programmed into believing is required to be part of society. And then there's this crooked and twisted tree all on its own. And to me, the most beautiful tree in the forest is that unique, beautiful, twisted, crooked tree that's been struck by lightning and is scarred and is still growing, or has been split in two and has then grown into two, or sometimes even fallen and then has actually grown all these new shoots. All the branches have become new trees in their own right. And
You
that
know
actually,
berries are on.
yes, enriching the lives of all of the creatures of multicolor all around them. And I would suggest the reason that you are so captivating and engaging is because you're unique and you're authentically you. If somebody's putting on a mask or a persona to try to be funny when they're not, it's quite clearly and very easily seen through. I have a very direct approach, and I also have a very playful side, and it's allowing for both sides to be expressed and almost learning when one side is more beneficial for the situation than the other. If everybody's having a fun time and I come along with serious Kaine, then I'm not really going to be received very, very appreciatively. Everyone's going to be like, no, we don't really want that. But if you're in a business meeting and you start tap dancing on the table, again, it's probably not the right time or place for it. So it's learning as we develop into adults, all these different, again, times and places to be our true self, knowing that we have lots of different colors. Each one of us is a rainbow made up of lots of different colors, and it's honoring each color within yourself, each frequency of being that allows your true essence to be fully expressed and complete. Beautiful.
I find myself becoming less and less tolerant of any atmosphere in which I feel like I need to be anything other than what I want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, be me. That is what we're here to be. You're here
This
to be
is
you.
part of why I think you and I are part of this network of amazing people who are creating spaces for people to do things in and to connect in, because when we create the spaces, we get to be fully ourselves, and we get to invite other people to do the same thing and to establish that as the norm. And and I just don't really have any patience for any existing structure that asks me to be something other than what I am. I think we're all kind of over that.
Yeah. And if nothing else, over the last couple of years, it's been a beautiful, beautiful realization to a lot of people that actually I'm not going to do what I'm told to do for the sake of doing it. I'm going to do what I choose to do because I choose to do it. And that is a beautiful way to live.
I teach women in particular, but really I'm expanding more into humans, people, men too.
Humans, yes.
How to listen to their bodies, because our bodies are a much greater conduit of information and wisdom than we have been brainwashed of thinking otherwise. Like it's one of the most challenging aspects of this work to describe to people, because it sounds like hooey until you experience it for yourself, until you have learned to open up your own channel of your own connection and to receive information through your body. It sounds like hoo-ha.
It does. And having experienced it firsthand, and I'm sure a lot of people listening are all going to relate very deeply to this. For me, it's all about flow again. And it's as though we are a center point, or a bit like a tap, let's say. And if a tap is, and this comes back to love being the frequency that we are all at our core, and love being, in my opinion, the answer to all questions. If there's a problem, the answer is love. If you go back far enough or forwards far enough, or if you look at a bigger or smaller picture, you'll find that the answer is love. So if a tap is flowing through water, The water it's flowing through is pure and clean. It's continuously flowing. It's staying fresh and through the movement of it. And the tap is experiencing that beautiful water flowing through it. And it's also providing everything around it, that beautiful water. If somebody angers or frustrates you and you cut off the supply of water, of love to them, then not only do you not receive that flow through yourself, you then become stagnant and built up. That's where the energy then goes from love to the separation of it, because you have separated from it yourself. So it's keeping in that frequency of love, again, being a selfish bitch or bastard for flowing through the love so that you can experience it yourself. And then everyone wins. As I uplift myself, I uplift the collective. As I expand my consciousness, I expand that of the collective. And that is a beautiful teaching for anyone to be able to receive, especially if we bring it to parenting, knowing that everything that a child wants to express should be able to be expressed. If they feared that it's wrong to become angry, then they'll try and hold inside themselves that anger to the point where one day, no matter how far in the future, it will explode, and they may end up doing something that is completely out of character because it is not something that they would do. It's a build up of frequency that almost takes over them and causes them to behave in a certain way. So how is it that you have decided and chosen, because it is all choice, to parent your son in the allowance of his expressions?
I just wanted to point out that what you just described happens with adults all the time too, where people will bottle up their emotion until they behave in a way that is not the truth of them at their core.
Is learn as it's something, again, that's programmed. We learn it as a child and we continue it forward as adults. As an adult, we have the opportunity to change that program. As a child, we are subjected to the programs by our caregivers, by our parents. So your son has chosen a beautiful, beautiful caregiver in yourself. And I'd love to hear, and for everybody else to hear, how you've brought him into such a balanced position within himself.
So we train our kids that their emotions are not safe to express by being intolerant of them ourselves. And we are intolerant because we are triggered by the intensity of our children's emotions. It's not comfortable to us. It doesn't feel good. And often we have latent trauma in our nervous system that is not even connected to what's happening to the kid, but it's connected to things we experienced in the past. And all of that is coming alive in our systems while our kid is screaming at us. And if we don't have awareness of all of that's happening under the surface in that interaction, then we're going to treat that kid like they are our problem in that moment. Like, you are being a problem right now. And that's the beginning of the limiting of the expression, is that as soon as a kid feels like they are being a problem with what they're saying, instead of space being created for them to be saying what they're saying and a beat taken and then a response, that's how that pattern develops. So what I do with my son first, like, it all stems from my own ever growing awareness of my inner dialogue and what's happening with me when I'm interacting with him. And since he was a baby, I have held in my intention to consistently remember from moment to moment that he is his own separate little human, having his own separate experience in life. Yes. He knows nothing other than this one life. He has no idea what's happening in me. Only I can know that. And so for me to treat him with any assumption that he should have any understanding whatsoever of what's going on my end is crazy.
And you would never have an understanding of what's happening inside him unless you allow him to express that.
Unless I allow him to express it and I make it my mission to attempt to understand his experience.
Yes, understanding. And acceptance, first of all, whether it's rational, whether it's right or wrong in your perception, it's an acceptance that that is his. We all view the world in our unique way, and understanding the way that you view the world would allow me to better and more effortlessly deliver information to you that's going to be beneficial to you. Coming back to being a problem.
Let me just reflect on what you just said. This extends to more than just parenting. Like, if you can realize that your kid's perspective is going to be different than your perspective, then you can also realize that your perspective is going to be different than my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And neither is any more or less valuable. They're or important. They're an expanded awareness in
Mm-hmm.
in our reality. And we have such an obsession culturally with defining what is right and wrong and whose opinion is correct and blah, blah, blah. So many things can be true at one time.
Yeah, beautiful. But it's all true. It's all
Yeah.
true within the eye of the beholder. What I believe true is true to me. What you believe true is true to you. So one truth doesn't override the other or make the other wrong. It's just different perspectives again.
It's insanity to attempt to apply one's truth to someone else.
It's just beautiful. There's two things there. Again, this isn't going to upset anybody listening because everybody listening is aware. And I don't want to go down this path, but it still boggles my mind when I see people walking out in the countryside on their own wearing a mask. And I used to, at this beginning, get quite upset because I'm like, I want you to be free. I want you to be free. And then I'm thinking, well, actually, you are free. You're free to choose however you wish to live your life, and you're choosing to live it that way. So that's right for you. And if I become frustrated or annoyed at your choices, then I'm only becoming frustrated and annoyed in myself. So actually, you do you, I'll do me. And then wonderful.
I sat and listened to my esthetician bitch for about 10 minutes the other day about her road rage experience. And I used all of my meditative calming techniques while listening to her violent venting. And then I said, my life really changed when I realized how silly it is to take anything personally on the road.
Ooh.
To realize like that, to make anything about in traffic about me. I'm simply an ant in a line of other ants going up a road. Like, to think that, you know, my perspective is any more or less important than any other ant on that road is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started using it as a Zen experience, an opportunity to release what is not in our control, to recognize like, oh, nobody else in their own little reality bubbles is mine to mess with. So that opens up choices in my own little car bubble reality where I get to be at peace and calm even while people are raging around me. And I can listen to what I want. I can talk to who I want. I can la 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 and just accept that traffic is part of life.
Beautiful. You can be you again without giving away your power to another.
I think the connection, the nervous system connection is so important. When you realize what happens to your nervous system when you get all in somebody else's business, your nervous system freaks out.
So how would somebody be able to notice that? So say next time somebody's in a car that's listening and they're driving along and they become aggravated or frustrated, what would be the first step in the process to free them from that process, from that journey?
That your nervous system is activated. So, you know, your heart rate is faster, you're feeling frustrated, reactive, like you want to punch somebody or run or and you can't do any of those things when you're sitting there stuck in your car. So
well,
I think
you could do. I've seen that happen.
Well, yes, but back to people doing things that are uncharacteristic when they're bottling too much feeling.
It was quite characteristic of him at the time. He's a new man now. But yeah.
well, some people get lost in that identity when they
Yes.
hold an emotion for
Some people's protective layer that they wrap around themselves becomes so dominant and so thick that they lose sight of the truth within themselves.
So, I mean, whether you're talking about traffic or you're talking about masks, if you're talking about what anyone else is doing, like changing the world, wanting to help make the world a better place, wanting to help unite everyone is not about bringing everyone's opinion together. It's not about getting everyone to agree. It's because that's never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want or need that to happen on a grand scale, because it's our differences that make us beautiful. It is coming together around our differences, creating a space where we can embody acceptance of each other, love of each other, no longer attempting to exert control over one another and power, but everyone embodying their own sovereign power. For each person to have sovereignty, we don't have to agree with each other to hold our personal power. We don't have to have the same perspective.
No.
The only thing we need to agree upon is that it's possible for us to come together while holding our own power.
Beautiful. Sometimes the best thing to agree is to disagree. It's like making a meal. If we all bought the same recipe, we'd only have one ingredient. It's not a full, complete meal. We all need to bring our own individual aspect of self, of the universe experiencing itself, to the experience to make it multifaceted and multicolored. It would be like a jigsaw being complete already. We are each of us part of a jigsaw puzzle. And when we come together, we then see the bigger picture and complete the jigsaw together. If we're all the same, it's just a copy of a copy of a copy. There's nothing to learn. There's nothing to experience. There's no growth. There's no expansion. There's no nothing. It's beautiful.
I really think it's our capitalistic culture that has trained us to desire comfort and sameness.
Yes.
And like we have collectively become really, really resistant to experiencing any form of discomfort, especially if it's in service of someone else. And we've become intolerant of difference. It's so much easier if we just bubble ourselves in these little pockets of sameness where everyone agrees. If everyone agrees, then I don't ever have to navigate uncomfortable conflict.
Yeah.
But the thing is that like creating those pockets of separation means that we don't ever learn how to lovingly navigate differences.
Yes. There was a time in the past in our biological development as a species where being accepted by our tribe meant that we were more likely to survive. If you were outcast on your own, you're more likely to perish to the elements. So there was a time in our past where we needed to kind of fit in order to survive. That is no longer the case. We're not subjected to being kicked outdoors in the elements that are going to bring our downfall. So now we are in a very interesting time where it's actually the uniqueness of the self, of the individual, which creates the attraction to them. Again, if we're all the same, what's the point in any of it? And that is a beautiful, beautiful reminder to, again, be true to the self. That's what it's all about. Be true to you, and you can't fail. You can't fail at being you if you're being you. And that's what we're here to do.
It's so silly. My biggest insecurities are the things that I think make me weird. And like, that's literally why voices like mine are needed out there, because we all need to understand that it's fun to embrace each other's weirdness and to experience each other's otherness.
Yes.
We don't have to shy away from that.
100%. And a beautiful image that came to mind, which I've used before, but it was very relevant. Expecting somebody to view the world in your way, or categorizing somebody on what they're capable of doing in your expression or viewpoint of worth. So a doctor would see another doctor as being a good human being, of being worthy of success and riches, where they may see somebody who is an artist as just messing about and wasting their life away. That's a perspective. Again, it's a personal opinion. If you expect and you classify a fish's worth at how well it can climb a tree, then the fish is going to be pretty worthless, and you're going to be left feeling frustrated at its inability to climb a tree. Fish swim in the sea, monkeys climb trees. If you expect a fish to climb a tree, then you're the fool. Accepting everybody's uniqueness and their ability to do what they are here to do, to express their unique aspect of self, again, that's true. The universe is infinite in potential. And I believe that we are all elements of that same self, individual droplets, if you like, in the ocean. And each droplet has a slightly different frequency, slightly different color. So to be true to yourself is to be true to everyone else. It's to be true to your purpose of being. And that, again, is simple. Just be you. And then that's it.
To have expectations of others, especially unspoken ones, makes no sense whatsoever. To expect other people to think the same things are important as you do is unreasonable.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of I think my most powerful habits is thinking of things like this with a yes and mentality. Just because someone else needs something different than what I do doesn't mean that thing is in competition or conflict with what I need and what is important to me. It simply can expand upon it, and with some creativity and some intention, space can be made for incorporating everything.
Yes.
We've been taught through this scarcity mentality that we're having to battle each other to get our needs met.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that? I never get statistics right, but I read some insane statistic about how the U.S. throws enough fresh produce away in 3 days, or maybe even less time than that, to feed the entire world. Like we engage in an insane amount of waste. We don't have a problem that there isn't enough for everyone. Like, that problem doesn't exist. The abundance is there. It's all there for everyone. It's simply that we're not directing it in the places. We're not agreeing that it's there. We're not creating the opportunity for that abundance to make it to the mouths of the people who really need it. So we're denying that it exists. We're throwing it into the fucking trash.
Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful, beautiful terminology for manifestation. Your focus of attention is what you then bring into creation. If we're focusing on 10 different things, or things which are low in vibration, then no wonder that we never actually experience our truest and most heart-desired creation. That's fucking beautiful.
It's not enough to just focus on the fact that there are children starving in the US, right? Like, and make noise about that. Make noise at the same time about the amount of waste that is going on, and get involved in creating an actual solution to get that waste.
Yes,
into
100%.
Hungry children.
Be aware of the problem, but don't focus on the problem, because then you are locked in a battle and you're feeding into that problem. Be aware of the problem, focus on the solution.
It's the logical connections. Like the fact that there are children starving in America does not mean that there is not food for those children. There's food readily available for those children. Mm-hmm. We just simply aren't taking action to get it. Like, we're allowing that problem of starving children to continue existing in this country day after day after day, instead of finding the solutions and acknowledging the tremendous amount of stupidness that we have going on in this country in particular.
It's the same the world over, I would presume. It's the same here. That's why we're doing what we're doing. That's why we are one step at a time, one breath at a time, bringing about the creation of the new world. the true new world that we are co-creating now, the world of true harmony and equality for all, the world where there is no soul left behind, there is no soul that is above or below another, because we are all together in this beautiful journey. We are all connected as sisters and brothers. It is my fucking fundamental belief, and it drives me. That's why I do what I do. It's my passion. My deepest passion is to see smiles on every single person's face around this world.
I really believe that the paradox is that your strongest pathway to helping to co-create that reality is through sending the love through yourself first.
100%.
Giving yourself such an intensity of love that it radiates from you and permeates everyone around you.
100%. These last couple of weeks it's clear to see again.
A lot of people, there are so many problems in the world, and like there are a lot of solutions that are currently going on that you can jump into, that you can give your energy to, and that's great. But if it's not coming from this full self-loving place, I think it is individuals embodying self-love that will open up the reality we're moving into, where people will begin to care about each other more again.
I would confirm that. There's something I was shown a while ago. It was basically everyone needs to stop trying to help each other and just help do themselves. If you are your truest self, your most pure expression of love, then if we all do that, then we're all in love. There's nothing else that needs to be done other than to focus on, to heal, and to enrich the self. The healing of this.
Yeah, when you're full of love, you can't help but like spread that love everywhere you go and impact people in positive ways. It becomes an effortless thing. Just like I'm not trying to make anybody's day better when I'm going and shaking my ass at the lake, but I'm bumping some people up.
Yeah, it's the healing. This the terminology, the expression. The healing of this world will not come about through helping or healing another. It will come about through the helping and the healing of the self. And a focus or a hatred for war, a focus on a dislike and a hatred for war will only create hatred and war. It's the love for peace that will actualize love and peace. It's always the most simplistic answer to the question that is actually the truest and most relevant. It's, again, all that childlike wonderment and play. Children are themselves. They're true to themselves in every single way until they're told not to be, until they're told you're wrong for being you. And then the child goes, oh, well, I can't be that version of me, so I'll be this version of me. I'll be the one that pleases you. And then we develop these pleasing characteristics and the requirement to fit in so that we don't be outcast or ridiculed or experience that trauma again. So it's a beautiful way of coming back to the education and enrichment of the future generation, because that's in truth the foundation of everything that I'm creating, is to humanity charity. I'm still not sure of the name it will be given, because the name doesn't matter, it's the frequency behind it, but it's the conscious education of parents so that they can consciously educate the children, knowing that everything that wants to be expressed should be given time and appreciation, whether it fits into your narrative of the world or not. It doesn't matter. What matters is just allowing for what is. If it's raining, it's only you that decides if it's good or bad. And if you decide it's bad and you get pissed off at the rain, you're getting pissed off. This doesn't stop the rain.
If you're fighting anything outside of yourself, you are actually fighting yourself.
Yes, beautiful. And
like it all just is. And there's room for it all. It's, if you don't feel there's room in your reality for whatever's there, then you're just feeling like there's not room for whatever's in here.
Yes, which again comes from those childhood programs, those times that you were shut down for being you. Oh, I can't be that me. I can't express myself. I can't be too loud. And I know a lot of people to bring in alcohol or drug use, when a lot of people become very much, they feel liberated and they feel free to be themselves, is because they've remove that prison guard, if you like. And because I'm quite vain, I went and had a tan before we started. It's not the middle of winter, but in the winter I go and use sunbeds to keep that feeling of summer alive within me. And the woman there was in tears. I gave her a hug and I was like, "What's up? What's going on?" And she said, long story short, that her boyfriend behaved in a certain way. I explained the reason why. So she said that, to go into it quickly, she said that whenever he comes onto her, it's fine. He's sexually aroused whenever he instigates it. If she tries to instigate it, he won't have it. It shuts down and it causes him quite a lot of upset. So I said, well, it might be something as simple as the fact that in the past, a woman instigated it with him and he wasn't in a mind frame or a physical way of being able to get it up. He couldn't become aroused. So then he become frustrated and embarrassed. So then anytime a woman comes onto him, it re-triggers that feeling of frustration and embarrassment. It could be something as simple as that. It could be something deeper. It doesn't really matter what it is. It's allowing his expression and understanding of it. And then we talked about how to deliver information and seeing his perspective of the world and giving him time to express himself, and using "and," which is what you said. Yes, and. If you use "no, but," if I said to you, "Oh, the sky is green," and you said, "No, it's not," then instantly I'm going to close down from anything you're going to give back to me. If you said, "That's interesting that you see the sky as green and I see it as blue," then at least you're keeping the door open. And I said to her, it's like a security guard being at a door. And that security guard, when we get drunk, he goes off duty. So the true you comes out. So if you allow for everything to be delivered to somebody in a way that they can accept it, they're going to be more likely to receive it and to use it. And again, when that prison guard is off duty, their true self comes out. So it's allowing for your true self to come out without needing to feel as though you have to have a drink or whatever else to liberate yourself from yourself. The work that you do brings that liberation to people through natural means, through expression, through frequency, and again, through basically loving somebody back home to themselves. And that's what I'm all about, is guiding somebody back home to themselves, back home to love.
You don't negate someone else's expression with the expression of yours. So I used to feel like there wasn't enough space made for my voice. Like there's just not enough room. There's like nobody's listening. And that was my feeling. And then I came to a point where I realized, oh no, I'm not expressing. I'm not taking up space. It's not other people's job to create space for me to take up. That's not how it works. It's in the same way that, you know, when we are reclaiming power, wherever we are reclaiming it from, it's not just handed to us. It's it's a reclamation.
Yes.
We take it, we move into that space of power and embody that. And so I started thinking about the idea of my expression taking up space and realizing that it's no different than, you know, my reality and my perspective taking up space, and that it doesn't matter whatever is authentically coming through my expression. If it conflicts with someone else's expression, who the fuck cares? There's space for both. There doesn't have to be congruence there. I can be saying something that is in dissonance with someone else, and it is the aspect of, like, it's the fact that I'm speaking from my essence that is impactful. If that other person is speaking from their essence, something different, fine.
Again, you're being truthful to them, they're being truthful to you. And that's all that any of us should ever do. And knowing the universe is continuously expanding, there's always space to be you. Even if you become larger and larger and larger to the point where you fill the whole room, the universe is expanding. So who's losing out? No one. We're all gaining. We're all expanding together. Beautiful.
back to the scenario between the man and the woman and the sexual approach. In my with my blowjob queen crown on, I have
Yes.
had plenty of conversations with men and women, and I know that like men struggle just as much when it comes to sexual intimacy and partnership as women do. There is trauma held on both sides, and a lot of men experience rejection very painfully. So that can really contribute to their ability to engage.
Mhm.
I mean, man, I've been feeling into lately, like the collective masculine and how much feeling rejected or feeling like a disappointment, like both are so heavy on the masculine.
It's almost like watching the animal kingdom, and the men are almost queuing up to try to dance or impress the female, and the female's like, no, you're no good, no, you're no good. There's this beautiful bird, I've seen them do it, and the men take it in turns. And that's almost what society is like. A lot of the time, young boys, they're left in the dark. They don't have any understanding of what's going on inside them or outside. Girls talk and share things more between themselves. So at least you're giving yourself the opportunity to have a different perspective and understanding. Men keep it all in. So no wonder we're so left out of that understanding.
We've set up really unrealistic expectations of men in their approach. And like, we expect men to get the girl. We expect men to make the first move. We expect men to be the pursuer. And yet we don't give them any guidance for how to do that in a way that is actually like appealing and attractive to women. And we also don't provide them any awareness of the fact that rejection is likely, because as a woman, the opposite experience, there are lots of men who are interested. Not every man who is interested is interesting, and that's just how it is. I mean, it's part of having a womb. You gotta be selective.
Yeah. And again, that could be linked into our biological nature. Women are more designed to find a provider and supporter, whereas men are more biologically created to spread the seed, if you like. And again, that's something which through education can be understood and rechanneling that focus of attention and that energy.
I mean, we need to teach men that being rejected is not a reflection of their worth or their value as a man and who they are. Because from my personal experience, there are men who come into my field all the time who recognize that I'm a really interesting, entertaining, fascinating person who would be a fucking jam to spend life with.
Yes, you are.
And I don't blame them for recognizing that. I'm flattered that they recognize it. It's beautiful that they're attracted to me. And I have to be cutthroat with these men and say, like, because it's not, for me, it's not that I'm like looking for a provider. Yes, I am looking for a certain caliber of man, but I want the one who feels like a true match to me.
Mm-hmm.
And
the yin to your yang, or the yang to your yin.
But who meets me on many levels. And it's hard, as a woman, it's hard to navigate this part of engaging with men, because part of it requires like acknowledging what we bring to the table, which is sticky, because if we think too much of ourselves, then we're, perceived as, I don't know how to describe it, difficult or stuck up.
Yeah. And, I know what you mean. It's the difference between being kind with the way that you choose to disregard somebody's affection or desires towards you, or being stuck up and snooty so that they become upset or feel as though they are rejected. It's compassion for everyone involved in the situation. But at the same time, this is a conversation that could go on for forever. Society has created a situation in the past where men could take what they wanted from a woman and a woman couldn't do a lot about it. Now women are taking back their power. So it's balancing out the equation a bit. It's going to take a little while for things to settle into place. At the same time, I do feel very, very sorry for, no, let's take that back. I feel empathetically aware and I don't know the right terminology here. I understand a lot of men. There is the time for the alpha man who can beat his chest, who can go to battle, who can feel as though he is a man, is gone. And when men get to that point where they're feeling masculine and they want to go and court a woman, then they have no understanding of what they're supposed to be doing. They stumble around and trip up and fall in the dark, and they try to discover themselves what to do. They feel rejected and neglected, and then after 2 or 3 times they believe they're no good, and they then take on a program of being no good, and then they run that throughout their lives. Again, it's all beliefs. Everything we experience is due to the belief behind it. If you believe that you're a powerful creative being, then you are. If you believe that you're a victim, then you will create the situation to experience that victimhood. It's education. Again, it's education of children. It's coming back into a tribe-like way of living almost, where we support and educate each other in the beautiful, beautiful frequency, like in the portal that I've created, a platform to bring in like-minded people to all discuss and uplift and enrich each other. It's a place to share and be authentically you, and to discover deeper truths to yourself that you would otherwise never have discovered, because again, you've opened up that door and you're just going to see whatever is inside it, accepting it for what it is.
I think, you were mentioning the work that you did with me earlier. And what I wanted to say in reflection of that is that I think collectively what we are doing is redefining both masculinity and femininity. Mm-hmm. And in doing so, we're creating space. Like what masculinity has needed so much is the integration and encompassing of the feminine within. And in order, because we've trained men to reject all of their feminine, which leaves them stunted in their expression. Mm-hmm. Same with women. Like women need to embrace their inner king. Mm-hmm. That means looking at from a woman's perspective, looking at my relationship to everything that's masculine in nature. How do I relate to it, and how am I relating to men, and really owning and taking responsibility for my part in that, and looking for ways in my day-to-day to like befriend my inner masculine. And this idea for men of like loving on their inner feminine, I feel like is pretty new. Yeah. And that like collectively we are acknowledging that we all carry both energies. We all embody the full spectrum to some degree, and we need that range of expression, because we're dynamic humans in a relationship between a man and a woman. I don't believe these like highly polarized hierarchies where men are always leading in a relationship. I'm sorry, but if you are with a powerful woman, there are times when her vision for like you as a unit is going to be so expansive and so powerful that a man is going to be like, fuck yeah, let's charge in that direction. And he's following her, but he's leading in the direction of her vision, right? Like,
in order to allow that, he must feel confident in his own masculinity. Otherwise, he will never be able to accept in that femininity.
He has to be receptive to what is coming from her. And in order to be receptive to what's coming from her, he has to be receptive to his own feminine.
So after the sessions we had together, this is what I went to a festival in. And I even ended up doing a little catwalk to really flow through that femininity and that freedom. It was one of the most liberating things I've ever done. I'm a big old lump of a guy. And I was walking around the festival and nobody quite knew how to take me. But because I was constantly smiling and laughing and loving on people, it allowed for it to be so much more accepted and expressive in return. And here's me and Jess. I did a charity event a while ago. Jess was the masculine and I was the feminine. We switched roles because why the hell not? It's nothing to do with what's right or wrong. It's again just a beautiful expression. And this is my other. This isn't the Cosmic Surfer page. This is the other page. So yeah, to me, it is all about. Yeah, that's Naked Open Heart. So I've done a profile where I just bare all. It's called Naked Open Heart. I express my truths, my pains, my sufferings, and it's got a bit more of a kinky, quirky side to it because I've got a very kinky side to myself, as I know you do, and the expression and acceptance of that is the expression and acceptance of myself.
Yes.
Beautiful. Natalie, thank you so much for today. It's been beautiful. What would you feel would be most beneficial to leave anybody listening with in regards to whatever you want to talk about, whether it's conscious parenting or how to bring about inner freedom or sensual healings, which I know that we haven't really touched on the Blowjob Queen. You do a lot of work with women, bringing sensual healing and liberation to them. And I know you've done some very powerful online courses that you are releasing and distributing and bringing to the world to help women feel more empowered in being able to deliver to their man what it is that they want to bring sensual expression through themselves and to have it received and reciprocated.
Yeah, a lot of the current discord that exists between the masculine and the feminine manifests as a sexual dynamic that is not all that sexy. There's this thread in our society of I call it obligatory sex. Women who women especially, but it happens for men too. But I speak to a feminine audience in this case. It's not uncommon for women to engage in sex or a blowjob with a partner that they're not actually all that excited to give. That they're not, that it's coming from a sense of obligation. He's desiring it, so I must give it. And my course that's specifically on blowjobs, I chose that topic simply because people are interested in it. But what's most important to me that women take away from it is I teach, when we're having sex out of obligation, we are engaging with our sexuality from the outside in. We are choosing to be sexual because someone outside of us wants us to be sexual. I teach in this course how to engage with your sexuality from the inside out. So choosing to engage with someone else because you are already feeling sexual and turned on and feeling some desire and are open and ready for pleasure, which is actually a recipe for a fun, sexy time, pleasurable time, and is,
everyone wins. It's the difference between wearing sexy lingerie to please a man or wearing sexy lingerie to feel sexy to please yourself because you want to feel sexy.
There's a lot of sexual repression that happens with women, especially like once they're in a relationship or a marriage. There's some repression that happens like outside of the home where it's like, oh, well, my sexuality is just for my man now. But if you repress anywhere, you're going to repress everywhere.
Yep. 100%.
That's what most people don't understand. So there's, you go out and you pretend to not be a sexy woman when you're out in public, and you're going to forget how to be a sexy woman inside your home.
But again, you're not being authentic.
It doesn't work to turn parts of yourself on and off.
No.
So that's another like aspect of like nervous system work is like practicing being sexy in public. And I don't mean like walking around in lingerie in public, but like being in your turn on in life and having your being enlivened in your sexual energy, being connected to what is sexy about you as not being afraid to like go out and wear the red dress
Mhm.
or the pink one if you're Kaine.
Yep.
But like, being unafraid to embody the sexy. And so I dig into all of that in my course. It's really a really powerful transmission. And like,
Please make sure that you drop a link to it in this video, and I'll make sure that when it goes up on YouTube and on the podcast, it has all the links and everywhere that everyone can find you, all your socials and all your platforms.
I'm doing my work behind the scenes.
Beautiful. Amazing. Let's connect again very soon and keep flowing this beautiful energy between us, because the more we uplift ourselves and each other, the more again we uplift and help ascend humanity through the co-creation of it. We will experience that world of true harmony that we are all holding within our mind. And as a closing note, I would like to remind each and every one of you, focus on the solution, not the problem. Be the change you wish to see in the world. And change, again, starts from within. If to your left there is negativity and control and repression and a future where you feel enslaved by a system that you do not want to be part of, then don't feed into it. Focus on the future that you wish to create and experience, knowing that there are many, many more people around the world than you realize holding that same vision, and that together we will co-create that world of true harmony and equality for all. I guarantee you, I promise you, it's already done. I've been there, I've seen it. It's just walking that path towards it. Skipping joyfully all the way.
Yeah, you and I have done some exciting alchemy together. I feel
True.
in the same way that self-love impacts the collective. Intimate relationship impacts the collective. You and I have navigated some conflict because we've done some deep diving together and gone into some really intimate areas of our lives together. And with that inevitably comes the bumping of heads. And it's been really powerful navigating that with you, because I can feel everything that we do and embody ourselves has ripple effects.
Yes. Same in every relationship. There's always going to be conflict or a point where you trigger each other to the very core. When you open yourself up to your very core, then you leave yourself open to be poked in that deepest and darkest place of yourself that you would not let anybody else into. And knowing that it's all ego that gets upset, the more egoically attached to somebody we are, the more likely that we will be egoically affected by them. And it's holding space and coming back to love. I accept you and I love you just as you are, and as I accept and love myself just as I am. And as part of my journey to get to this point, there was a period where I didn't like myself. In fact, in the past, I used to hate myself with a vengeance, and that's why I hated the world. And then through my journey, I got to a point of self-love, and then I entered into a deeper, darker part of myself. And then there was a layer or a area of self-hatred that I hadn't looked into, and then that surfaced, and that took time to work through. And it's holding each other's space. It's being compassionate for yourself and everybody else involved. Space is the key word here. So hold each other's space, shine your light and your love of attention upon yourself first of all, and then shine it out to the world around you.
I wrote just this morning a post where I said, love is allowing someone else their process.
Beautiful. Their expression of self, whether they take 30 steps left and 2 steps right, where all they really needed to do was to go, well, that doesn't actually add up, but yeah, if there's a very direct route to get to where we're going, or a very long route, each person's route is perfect for them because they discover learnings that they require by taking that alternative route. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you. Truly, I love you, and I will speak to you very soon. Thank you, one and all, for joining us, and I will speak to you all very soon. Reach out to either one of us should you need any form of guidance or assistance. And until next time, stay mindful, Be the change. Namaste.